everybody. Good morning. Thanks for jumping on Closers Clubhouse. Uh-oh, do you like this, Haas? I got some intro music for you.
There you go.
Welcome, everybody. Closers Clubhouse. Good morning, Michael Banovic, co-host extraordinaire. How you doing today, sir?
Doing awesome. I'm actually on Bob's Academy this morning, trying to absorb all the content.
Look at that. See, we do our homework, Haas.
That's a good place to be right there, man. Good job, buddy.
That's a master's program, right?
Oh, I like that music, though.
Yeah? Should I kill it?
Yeah, man. Some little classic rock.
I got to bring the magic.
Ooh.
That's all Matt Black Productions right there. That's courtesy of Matt Black Productions. He'll soup up your home studio for you. So he's an unofficial sponsor of today's show. So we'll wait on a few more of our co-hosts, but we'll get started here in a minute. Thanks, everybody, for jumping in. Of course, this is Closers Club. We do this every Wednesday without fail, rain or shine. It'll be me or one of my amazing co-hosts. We'll be up on here hosting a Closers Clubhouse. We do this every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. East Coast. Guaranteed to be the best 90 minutes of your week or your money back. And so far today, Haas, 0 refunds.
That's good.
You know, I mean, that's
it's not over yet, though.
Not over yet. No one's asked for their money back, but maybe their time back. No, actually, you don't even want your time back. You actually want more time, is what we've experienced in here. So people usually, after about 90 minutes, they want more. So we usually, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to make a couple cool announcements. We've got some stuff coming up here in the works. We're going to actually be ending this show, and then in another couple weeks, we'll be launching. Michael Banovic's going to be doing an amazing show in our cloud office. So actually, a class. He's going to be teaching a class on personal branding, and you know he's also the $1 million date doctor. So we might have to do the $1 million brand doctor. I don't know. We might have to come up with a cool name for that. But I'm going to be really excited about that. And then also. Next week, we've got Michael LaFido on Clubhouse. So I want to do a little housekeeping here before we get going. But Michael LaFido is going to be our guest next week. And then the following week, Michael LaFido is going to be out in Arizona for a few days doing some really cool events out here. So if you're not following Haas, if you're not following Banovic, Alfonso, good morning, Alfonso. And of course, any of our great guests that we have up on stage, you want to definitely be following us. You can go onto Instagram. You can click on our little pictures here. Go to our Instagram, follow us. You can also send us little back channel messages if you like what you hear, you want to reach out to any of the guests today. And then we'll be pulling people up on stage so you can ask questions. And again, if you're with us, if you're part of our organization, if you're a part of Closers Club, you know, show your support by not only coming up, not only showing up, but also by inviting guests. So there's that little plus button at the bottom. If you click that, you can definitely ping people. You can send them little text invites. If they're already in Clubhouse, you can ask them to jump into the show. And then, of course, you can also click the 3 buttons, the 3 little dots in the upper right next to where it says Winning with Haas Pratt. And you can actually grab a link and share that out on social media. And again, we just want to grow this thing, make it a thing. If you enjoy it, others will enjoy it. So again, let's kick this off. We got the one and only listing boss, a.k.a. Haas Pratt, a.k.a. Boss Haas, a.k.a. What are some other AKAs you go by, Haas?
Skillionaire these
the
days.
Skillionaire. You want to talk about that, or should we go? Let's start with let's go with the usual format. We'll get into Skillionaire. We'll save that as a little bit of a teaser, but that's definitely from the mind of Haas Pratt. So Haas, listen, this is how we do it. You know, you and I could probably talk about a million different things. I mean, we go way back. We're good buddies. I mean, Haas is one of my best friends, and he's one of my top partners, one of my top captains here at EXP. He's just crushing it. He's responsible for bringing in Tariq El Moussa. He's responsible for bringing in the Cardones. He's responsible for bringing in many amazing people to this organization. We can even get into some old historical stuff where a lot of the big power players at EXP all met each other at a Haas Pratt conference, and that was the beginning of a lot of our hyper growth back in the day. So we can talk about all that, but first I want to do this because this is kind of what we like to do on Closers Club. We really want to get inside the mind of Haas Pratt, and to do that and to understand your back, you know, to understand your current story, we got to really get back into your backstory. And so take us back. I mean, I don't care if it's generational. Take us back to when you're a little kid. Take us back to, you know, your forefathers and mothers. I mean, tell me, where did Haas Pratt come from? What's your story, brother?
Man, well, it starts in 1981. Northwest Missouri, out in the country. No, I mean, I grew up in Missouri, and I'm just a country boy. I grew up, and I wasn't, I didn't. I mean, I wasn't around like the normal things that people are around. Like I lived outside. I rode horses every day. I didn't have, I was only interested in making money from a young age. I always had, hobbies like picking up beer cans in the ditches. Like every day, I would just go collect cans. I would always mow grass. I was always into something. I was the kid that I called my dad, at work and said, "Dad, I want to build a baseball field. Can I build a baseball field?" And he goes, "Sure." And he comes home from work, and we got me and my buddy Slick had the tractors. We're digging holes. We have telephone poles, putting it up. We're tilled up the whole land. Like when I asked my dad, I said, "Can I build a baseball field?" In my mind, I was thinking Field of Dreams. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't thinking that way. So like for me, I always thought that way. I don't know. I don't want to say think big, but had a vision. I am dyslexic, so I think that's always helped me. I found out later in life that having that vision and being able to see it is something that I've always I had an interest in. And I grew up with three brothers, so like and they were all athletes, and I was always the fat kid. You know what I'm saying? Like I was it. They were the ones that wrestled and were focused on sports, and I was a third child. So like no, I found other things to do, and I think that's where it all started for me. Was try as a kid is just doing what what came as a strength to me. And probably deep down try to get my dad's love. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what drives us kids, and there's always that. And it, put me in a place that I would just do things different. And I think at a young age that's what planted the seeds in me that I wanted to do something different. And and as and the people that came into my life, through that has just been instrumental. But I'll pass it back to you. Where do you want to take it from there?
I mean, well, I want to get into a lot of the people. I mean, there's a lot of people in the audience today that I know for a fact you've changed a lot, changed the trajectory of their life. You've changed their mindset. You've helped them from everything with, being better real estate agents to just being better people. And I want to start unpacking some of that coaching and where you got that. But I think one of the most pivotal moments for me in your life, in knowing your story fairly well, was that moment where you went to seek out a mentor and he gave you some really powerful advice when you were still in Kansas City. Do you want to talk about that moment and kind of unpack that for everybody?
Yeah, and there was even before Jimbo, and I want to just talk about Sarah for a minute because I don't talk about Sarah Cotton, but without her, I don't know where I would be. I had an interest in livestock and horses because I could show sheep, I could show cattle, I could show pigs, and I could sell them and make thousands every summer. So I would spend every day walking my lambs, riding my horses, showing my cows, and preparing for shows because that's we make a ton of money in FFA and 4-H doing that. So like for me, I had a lady at this time. Her name was Sarah Cotton. She ran the 4-H in Missouri, where I was from, um, and she took me under her wing, Culhane, like every day she would pick me up and she would take me to the barn and she would teach me everything she knew every day. It was like at 6:30 in the morning.
And who was Sarah Cotton? Was she a little older? Was she a little
Yeah,
younger?
she was
Like a
just
lot
a lady
older?
that a friend's mom that lived in the area that was a sweet lady that
Yeah.
she just saw something in me. But man, she taught me so much, and I'm so grateful for her because honestly, like I mean, that was huge. So like she was huge to me, and then I met a guy named Jimbo, and Jimbo was a millionaire, and his family invented the hay baler, and Jimbo took me under his wing as well. And that guy is the one that, man, he really just blew my mind. He's the one that said, you got to start a business, Haas. You're not going to college because I never liked school. I wasn't going to go to college. I dropped out of high school twice. My formal education ended my sophomore year, but I had Jimbo right there with me. He was my teacher, and he said start a business. So I started Pratt Lawns
How old
as a
were you?
teenager. 17,
Okay.
16, 17. I was mowing grass, and I started Pratt Lawns. And he said profits are better than wages. If if you're not going to go to college, you got to own your success, Haas. Like you can't. I mean, you got to own it. He goes, you got to start a business. You got to kick. And I go, what do I do? He's like, oh, mow grass. I'm like. But what I did is in the wintertime, I cold called the white pages of the phone book. And I said, this is Haas Pratt with Pratt Lawns. I want to come give you an estimate on your lawn care this spring. And I got 100 lawns my first year. At the time I got a contract for the Williams Pipeline National Midwestern substations. I bid it and got it. And was a huge contract. Even today, my brother still mows that. It's like 25 years ago. He still mows it. It pays millions. And I got that at 17. And I went to the banker and said, I need a loan. He goes, you don't have any credit. I can't give you a loan. I said, I got 100 lawns and a big commercial contract. I got to mow. I need lawnmowers. And I showed it to him. I convinced the banker to give me my first business loan. And I went and bought the lawnmowers after that. And I was a business.
And this was Jimbo, right? This was all based on being an entrepreneur, effectively.
Yes.
And so, talk to me a little bit about obviously you're doing this, right? You get into the entrepreneurial mindset at a very early age. Dare I say, probably decades before most. I mean, I know I didn't really get my entrepreneurial mindset until my mid. Well, I was always doing stuff like that, but I mean, really. Didn't consider myself an entrepreneur until in, late 20s, early 30s, even though I was, collecting exit tickets from Ravinia Festival and selling them in the parking lot for $1 cheaper, or parking cars at the, I was always doing a little hustle move here and there, but never really considered myself an entrepreneur. But you were already considering yourself an entrepreneur. You're getting bank loans and as a teenager. That's pretty powerful stuff. And so, but what was that one piece of advice, or you talk about this often, what was that, you were still kind of in a rut, right? It's like things weren't happening for you, maybe you had outgrown your town. I mean, I think, and a lot of the stuff we talk about here in Closers Club is, I want to help other people that might be dealing with very similar, situations, right? Whether it doesn't matter how old you are, you could be facing a very similar situation as Haas faced when he was, as a teenager in Kansas City. But what was it? What was going on with you? And then what prompted that sort of magical advice that he gave you?
I wanted out, right? I was so mad at like just the complacency of where I was from. I wanted to be the one that left and became something. I wanted to build something. When I said I wasn't going to go to college, everybody told me it was a huge mistake. Everything they always wanted me to go down their path, and I wanted to prove them wrong, as old Michael LaFido says. I wanted to prove them wrong, and here's the difference. I was willing and am willing to do whatever it takes to do it on my part, right? So
Yep.
It's whatever it takes. I mean, I was going to go. I was going to join the military. I was going to go to the Navy. I was a day to join in the military. My Uncle Kenny talked me out of it. And the very next year was 9/11.
Oof.
But I wanted out. I try to get a job selling magazines door to door. They're going to send me to Cancun tomorrow. One of those types of deals.
Yeah.
But I was just a kid from the Midwest that wanted out. And then here's what happened. I got stuck because I built a successful business quickly. And now I'm like, crap, like now I can't leave, And Jimbo says, it's time to move. He goes, Haas, you can make $100,000 a year here, or you can make $1 million a year somewhere else. Like, what do I do? He goes, you need to move. Sell Pratt Lawns to your brother. Move. I go, where do I go? He goes, you need to move to Texas. And I was like, Texas? Like, where at in Texas? He goes, Dallas. He goes,
and did you know anybody in Texas? Did you have family in Texas? A sweetheart in Texas? No.
Nothing. I don't even know why he said Dallas, Texas.
You didn't even know where Texas was, did you?
I've never been on an airplane. I've never seen the ocean. Dude, I've only been to Iowa and Kansas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we flew down here to Dallas, and I just was, big city, small town kid. My mind was blown, and I decided it was in August. We were driving around in a Cadillac DeVille. It was 150 degrees in Texas, and we're listening to Sammy Kershaw going down Preston Road, and I just was, I'm moving. And he goes, when you moving? He goes, set the date. And I set the date. I said, November 15th, I'm moving to Texas. And he goes, call your brother. So I called my brother, Brad. I said, I'm moving. You get first right of refusal for Pratt Lawns. And he said, I'm in. And we had a plan. And so
how old were you?
At this time, I was 19, 20.
Wow. So all your
I
buddies
wasn't
or
old enough
people
to
you knew
drink.
were
I
in
remember when I went
college
into
or they were
Texas, I wasn't old enough to drink.
right.
Um, and so we came here, and here's the thing, man. Everybody thought I was nuts, and so I like people thinking I'm nuts because that means that I'm onto something. You know what I mean? Like because it's they're like, why are you moving? I threw a going away party, and I on November 15th at 2:30 in the morning. I remember like that day. I leave my house with my 36-inch JVC TV in a suitcase, and I was gonna go become something. And I left everything I built behind to go do it. And that right there is a lesson that has happened multiple times in my life. Having to leave good to go to great, and having the tenacity to go for it. I think that's something that everybody can do more of. There's nothing to fear in that move. You're being led. I was being led. God had a plan in me coming to Texas. I look at my life today. I mean, I don't know. That's a plan. I couldn't have. It wasn't me. I was guided, and if you step through those doors, man, as they say, fortune favors the bold, and it's powerful.
That is such a powerful piece of advice, and this idea of just sort of changing, radical change, moving locations. You and I share a very similar experience in that, I effectively left Chicago, it was just kind of beating me up physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. It was a tough city to be broken. And coming to Arizona literally with no possessions, collecting unemployment. I mean, I had no business trying to come out here and make it, I had to rely on friends and some, some distant relatives and things like that, but really had no business moving to a whole nother city. And it was the greatest move I ever made. I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, if you guys really want to get kind of weirded out by this. I mean, imagine, a lot of the folks that are with EXP or a lot of the people on the stage here, quite a few of them have become millionaires because of EXP. Imagine if I didn't move to Arizona.
Well,
right?
Right.
I would just want to say something, Haas.
Please.
It's so interesting because what you and Brian are talking about is hundreds of years old. It's called burn your boat.
Amen.
Fernando Cortez understood the power of not having any other options. And he when his army and he got to Veracruz, Mexico, he came up to a way, he decided that in order his men wanted to go back, he burned the boat so they could conquer the land. By removing that option of retreat, the victory was there. It was assured. And when you all burned the boats and left your town and moved to Dallas, that gave you victory. Victory was there.
You had no option.
A bold move made it happen. So,
by the way, Haas, Suzanne and I did not plan that burn the boats piece. That was totally organic. But that's funny because
my book listing, boss, is the very last thing that in the book, Suzanne, is I tell the story of burn the boats in listing, boss.
Oh, you're kidding?
Yeah.
No,
how crazy. Yeah.
Oh, well, how crazy. Well, I haven't read your book, so that's what I thought about when you all were talking.
Suzanne, you should read it. You would enjoy it. Haas, how many copies have you sold, or how many copies do you think are in other people's hands right now? Would you guess?
I don't even, man. Probably 30,000.
Yeah.
In the last few years.
It literally is page 184. Burn the boats. That's awesome. Commit to your success. That's if you look at the actions take, commit to your success, figure out what your boats are and burn them, and then take massive action. The commit to your success piece was you set the date. And then you told everybody about it, right? And you told your family, I'm moving. You did that verbal commitment piece, the mental. Obviously, it starts mentally, but then you verbally committed. You put it out there. You started telling everybody. I remember when I was thinking of moving to Arizona and I started telling people, everyone was just like, why would you do that? And I'm like, well, now I'm doing it because I said it. Now I don't have a choice. But you're right, Suzanne. It's this burn the boats is a real powerful. Most people, you think about, even in the business we're in, figuring out what your boats are, that's a really big piece, because I think for a lot of people, the boats are that second job, that steady income, that you know, that career that you're still hanging on to, or that company that you started that, you know, is just a time killer, a money suck, you know, just making you depressed. It's a loss. It's a big giant, you know, red X on your scoreboard that you just haven't gotten off the ground yet. And at some point you got to bury those things. You got to burn them. You got to leave them behind. You got to sever the umbilical cord. You got to be all in with what you're trying to accomplish. Because if, you know, I had a great, and I don't want to steal Haas's thunder here, but I had a great conversation with someone yesterday in the gym. So me and Michael O'Malley were talking to this guy. Remember O'Malley? We were talking to that guy working out, and Mike's just kind of probing him like we usually do. We're just kind of like, you know,
I just ran into him.
Yeah. So we're just like talking to this guy, and he's like a hustler, and I see him out there, and he works at the gym. He's working out at the gym, and he starts telling us how he has 5 or 6 jobs, and he's an insurance salesman. He's thinking of picking up another job because he thinks if he's making 5 incomes, you know, maybe what's wrong with another income, right? 6 income. You know, he's got 6 jobs. He's working hard. And I said to him, I said, man, you know, it's no reason why you're struggling so much is because you're chasing 6 different things. And, you know, I said, what's Bill Gates known for? One thing. What's Steve Jobs known for? One thing. What's, you know, Paul Allen? One thing. You know, and I said, what are you known for? 6 things? And then I kind of broke it down like this. I said, imagine if we were trying to go hunting. And, you know, Haas goes, well, I want to hunt deer. And O'Malley goes, well, I want to hunt rabbit. And I go, well, I want to hunt squirrels. And we go, well, let's go hunt them all. You know, how many of those things are we going to catch? Probably nothing, right? I said, but if we all kind of dedicate, or if you dedicate in your mind or you commit to hunting deer, we're just going to hunt deer. That's it. We're going after that deer. That's it. Nothing else is going to stop. And then all of a sudden the universe knows what to send you. You know, the universe will say, well, here's some deer tracks. Follow those. Oh, here's some deer poop. You know, you're getting closer. You know, oh, look, there's some deers over there in the clearing. You know, you can barely see them through the trees, you know, and like now we're going to catch a deer. But if you take this back to sort of, you know, job seeking or career hunting, if you will, you know, if you're trying to do 5 or 6 different things, you know, the universe doesn't know what to send you. You know, it's completely befuddled. You're not going to get that clear vision. You're not going to get those signals. You are going to get them, but you're just not going to key in on them. You're going to miss them. Go ahead. Who wants to say something? Oh, sorry. Tara, get your mic up. All right, so.
I'll add to that though, Brian. Clarity. Clarity is something so simple, but it's something so difficult when you have tons of great talents, tons of great things that you can accomplish in life, and it's hard to, you know, decipher those lanes. But clarity, right on.
Yeah, and a lot of king energies suffer from that, or queen energies, where you've got a million different interests and you got a million different passions. And I suffer from that. I've wanted to write movies, and I want to be a rapper, and I want to be a pro basketball player and a philosophy professor, and like I couldn't figure it out. But listen, I want to do this before we throw it to the group for questions. I want to keep going around and check in with a couple other the co-hosts here. We got Michael Banovic, we got Alfonso Carmano, we got Pat Hayes on today. I want to go around the co-hosts and see. Michael, you got a question for Haas, or comment, or a testimonial?
Yeah, Haas. Hey, buddy. How are you?
I'm good, Banovic.
Hey. So one of the things that I love about you, Haas, is your energy and commitment. Can you tell the listeners how they themselves can mirror your amazing energy and go out there and kick ass like you do?
Positive mental attitude is number one. You start there, and because it's all positive. I learned it back in the door-to-door. I can talk about this, but I was a door-to-door salesman. And when I first moved to Texas, okay, here's what I did. I got a job, and I moved here to start a landscape company, a landscape curbing company. And so when somebody said clarity, I want you to think this too, and I'll answer this. But like, you don't always know it all. Like I didn't always know the answers. I don't know who's coming into my life. I don't know that path. Like, and that's okay, you know. So if we understand, we don't got to know it all. We just got to get to stepping, do our part. That's where the universe comes in, and you know, it gives you what it is that you need. It leaves crumbs. So when I moved here, I needed a job, and I had a buddy that was that I went to school with that moved to Chicago, and
Go
He was
Bears.
probably up there. I guarantee he sold you something up there, Cole. This dude can sell
Probably.
anything.
Although I didn't have any money, so probably not.
Yeah, he was making like 150 grand, and I called him. I was like, man, what's this job you got? I'm down here in Texas. I'm going to start a landscape company. It's winter. I'm going to I'm going to start just do exactly what I did the first time. I'm going to spend the winter getting business, and I just need a job that I can just pay bills while I'm here. And I got an interview at this company called Adifex, which was a door-to-door company, and we would sell salon coupons. We would put together a package of $500 services, and we'd sell it for $45. Come in, you get 90% off. We're inviting 20 of our friends and family over, and I would go every day. I would go knock. We would knock 100 doors a day, every door, every floor, and we would sell salon coupons. And that's where I learned a lot. I learned how to sell doing that job. I learned mindset during that job. I learned the importance of a positive attitude during that job. Like, you cannot entertain a negative thought when you're going door to door. You can't let that mind go, oh man, nobody wants to buy. Oh my gosh. Like I'm not going to sell any today. You can't, and you can't experience, you can't do that. So to answer that question, Banovic, is I've had those experiences where and I would say door to door it's positive attitude pays. Positive attitude changes everything. Once you have the positive attitude, creates energy. It's hard to have energy in a negative with a negative mindset, right? It's positive energy, and the positive.
Well, let's unpack that for a sec, Haas. Because imagine if you open up a door and a guy's standing at the front door, or a girl, and they go, hey, I want you to buy this, but God, I'm having the worst day. And, geez, my shoulder's really sore. And, oh, my partner just screwed me over. Anyways, do you guys want to buy irons today? Do you want to buy a vacuum from me? I'm selling this solar package for your, but you know what? Let me tell you about my problems first, right? Like, who gives, like, what's, Brian Hissey sent me a shirt. He says, no one cares, work harder, And the reality is, imagine again, had I, worn my problems on my sleeve for those first, I don't know, I've been working with Glenn for 17 years. So I guess maybe the first 13 years of sort of the struggle chapters, right? Imagine if I told everybody how, it's not telling the truth, but it's like, imagine if I didn't keep that stuff to myself, and I was always trying to project success or project positivity, and attraction. My business was attraction. How many people are you going to attract if you're wearing your problems on your sleeve all day long? And I've talked to this with many of my leaders. We talk about this all the time. I mean, people don't want to work with people who are moody and have, a lot of issues and carry around a lot of baggage. And, and we do this for a living, right, Haas? I mean, we talk to a lot of people. Okay, Haas, you talk to probably as many people as I do, right? Which is a lot of people. And I don't know anybody else who's talking to as many people as Haas Pratt is. And you probably run into that almost every time, right? I mean, you get on the phone with someone for the first time, or maybe it's the first real in-depth conversation. What's the first thing they start doing?
Yeah, I mean, and I see it every time. And here's the deal: it's fear, y'all. It's fear. The more fearful you are, the more excuses you have to make. The more you don't do what you know you need to be doing, the more uncertainty of the future there is. The more anxiety. So like, if you're doing what it is that you got to do, and you're getting good at it, and it's building a skill, and you're having freedom, and you're experiencing success, and you're winning. This right here is the recipe. That builds self-confidence, it builds skills, and it creates positive energy. So, like, for example, Banovic, if I wasn't doing, like, I mean, last night I did a training for the Cardones, right? Today I'm doing this right here. If I wasn't doing these things over a period of time, it would affect me. This energizes 100%. Me. Like, so I got to stay in the game every day. I'm on the phone all day. Every day I'm presenting one-to-many because it's just what I do. It's what I love doing these things. So it gives me that energy. And let's say I wasn't doing those things. I mean, it's hard to to create that out of nothing,
Yeah.
And so I would look at, are you like real estate, for example? One of the best things to do is prospect for business. Like I would be every day in real estate. I never missed a day. I was on the phone for 3 hours every day calling leads, and I just did it. But at the end of that 3 hours, I had results. I got it done, and I have self confidence. And if an agent isn't doing that, they don't build the skills, they don't build the muscle, and they don't have the self confidence. And here's the thing, they're not experiencing enough wins. You have to win more. And you can't let a day go by without a win. What's a win? Set an appointment, generate a lead, took the listing, had the closing, right? You got the deal negotiated, the inspection is done. You go through all of those. In real estate, you have so many opportunities to win. So put yourself at a place of flow and
don't come
experience.
home until you got a freaking win, right? I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Like yesterday I was trying to dunk. Okay. I haven't dunked in a long time. I used to dunk all the time in college. I've been working out hard. I've been doing a lot of leg work, tons of stuff. And I'm like, I should be able to dunk at this point. I've got a broken hip. I got a hip implant, and I'm 46, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to freaking try and dunk. And I couldn't even touch the rim the first time yesterday. About 20 attempts later, I finally dunked. And I was not leaving that gym. I kept getting so close. The ball would spring away. I was almost ripped my shoulder out of the socket a few times. And O'Malley shows up. I swear this is true story. There's nobody in the gym, so I was kind of like, man, And then O'Malley showed up, and I just got that little extra sniff of all right, I can't make myself look like an idiot. And I got the dunk done, and I'm like, all right, let's go home. And it was just like, if you're in the gym, if you're in the, you're cold calling, you're knocking doors, don't stop knocking doors until you get that one win, right? We always used to say, finish with a make, right? Well, listen, I want to keep going. And by the way,
it's like a Michael Jordan tongue out dunk too.
Yeah, right. Put my whole arm in the up to my elbow. Yeah, I wish. But it's actually on my Instagram if anybody wants to go see it. But Pat Hayes, we got Pat, and I also want to acknowledge we got Sharon Lecter in the room, and I know Sharon's been very impactful for you, Haas, and I want to maybe go to Pat first, and then I'm going to go to Sharon while we still got her. But Pat, you posted something this morning on your wall, and I know you've got a great connection with Haas, and I want you to be able to ask a question. But it was very similar to what we were just talking about. He said, on Pat's page, he said the biggest wall you got to climb is your own mind, right? You said something like that this morning. The biggest wall you will ever climb is your own mind, and it made me think. But it's not like you climb it once. And what Haas just described was every day you got to be in the game. Every day you got to wake up and push yourself. Every day you got to do something. And I what was the comment I made on your post, Pat?
Yeah. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You there? Okay. Yeah, man. Yeah. It's, you got to do it every single day. You got to have a good mindset every single day. And, Haas, man, what's up, buddy? Hey, it was so good to finally meet you in person in Nashville, man. I love your passion. I love your energy. And, dude, you're a Texas boy now. And, man, we have kind of the same background of, growing up and mowing yards and making money at a young age, man. I love it, dude. I love your passion, bro.
You too, brother. And by the way, what this right here y'all are experiencing is that positive energy I'm talking about. I have goosebumps. When I'm around Pat, he has a positive energy. Do you agree, Culhane?
Dude, the most positive. By the way, not a small note, but a big note. Rob Flick also had a lawn mowing business, and Pat Hayes had a lawn business, and Haas Pratt had a lawn business. Like three of the best recruiters in the history of recruiting all had lawn. I think I'm going to go out and target young lawn mowing business owners. That's going to be my new niche.
There you go. I love it. Hey, Haas, so I got a question for you, man. Obviously, we're all motivated by money. Rev Share is absolutely amazing, and I always thank Brian Culhane for kind of starting this and not giving up with Glenn back in the day. But what are some of your financial goals this year? Like for me, my goal, I hit $1 million in Rev Share last year. My goal this year, I want to double that. I want to hit $2 million in Rev Share this year. Am I going to make it? I hope so. But you know what? If I fall short, hey, 1.7, 1.8, 1.9 million, hey, that's a good year. What are some of your financial goals? If you don't mind, sharing some of those.
Here's the one that keeps ringing to me. When Grant Cardone came on board, and we were talking about how many people he's going to bring over. Cole, you remember this? He says, I'm going to bring over 100,000 people. And I'm like, ooh, and I'm doing the math.
Yeah.
You know, on average, that's $1,000 an agent. That's $100 million a year, right? I'm like, 100 million is my number, you know. But my financial goals is right. I go step by step. So like, you know, right now, you know, I took a huge jump. You know, I pivoted in during COVID. I'll talk more about that story, but I went all in on EXP, you know,
Yep.
and so I took a huge financial hit on the business side when I went all in on EXP with the intention of just doing, you know, going from good to great. And so I've been building my, you know, rev share at EXP, and then that's been growing substantially. I want to get that to $100,000 a year, and I want or $100,000 a month. That's the next step.
Okay.
You know, and when I get there, you know, for me, it's just going to keep going up, and I'm gonna I've got something else that I can't talk about that is something big I'm working on financially. It has to do with you know, with my life's work. So like for me, I want that to reach more people in however it looks, you know. But man, I want to make 100 million a year. I really do. And I don't think though, in terms of money this way, it's weird. I don't love money like to the point of I'm like, it's a thing, because to me, the money is a byproduct of the mindset.
Right.
Right. So you see what I mean? So it's just like the 100 million.
It's the physical manifestation of the success that you're after, or the deer that you're chasing, right?
Right. So, and I'll tell you this too, when it comes to like money as an entrepreneur, and Sharon's amazing at this, but like you gotta have a money mindset, and the relationship you have with that is really important. I know I've never had a job, like no, I've never had a salary. I had to go get what is mine my whole life.
Right.
And I still have a, you know, 800 credit score. I've always been able to pay my bills. I've never not been able to do that. Now there's been periods things were tight, but the money's always been there, you know.
Right.
And
well, and you kind of glossed over this, Haas, because I mean, Haas literally, you know, Grant talks about going to zero. Haas talks a lot about in his book how you got to be willing to you know, start over, and what do you call it, Haas? It's not take it to zero, but you have a way of saying it too. But you know, you kind of did that. You had this, you know, $1 million coaching business. You had a huge database, one of the biggest databases of real estate agents in the business. And by the way, you know, the best coaches are also coachable. You know, and Haas doesn't consider me his coach, and I don't consider Haas my coach, but we coach the F out of each other, don't we, Haas? I mean, it's all day, every day. We're constantly, he's helping me with stuff. I'm helping him with stuff. You know, we worked through some of that stuff together, and, you know, I just kept banging that drum, didn't I, Haas? I'm like, dude, recruiting, right? Big money. And you know, and for Haas, I mean, he had to kind of burn the boats on the coaching business, right, Haas? I mean, wasn't that a big choice for you?
So that's where I was. It's the same thing. It's comfort. Listen, there's no security in a coaching business. There's no security in a lawn business. There's no security in 50 grand. There's no security in 500 a month, right? Like, you know, there's no security in a job, and there's no security. So the only security that matters is the security that you're going to get from the direction you're going. So, and that's what I've learned. And when COVID hit, I was already convinced that EXP is where I was going to go. It was hard. I was doing a dance, and you know, I've been coaching. I had contracts with other real estate brokerages, and so I made the decision to shut it down, and I stopped it. I canceled my contracts with coaching companies. I went to zero, man. I'm like, going being willing to leave it all to gain everything. I think what you're talking about, Brian, is what I say. Again, people said, "What are you doing, man? You're nuts." I'm like, because this is what it takes to. You got to burn the boats, as Suzanne says. You got to be all in, and you got to have faith over fear that everything is going to be amazing, and I did it, and I in the last year and a half, that's what I've done. And you know, built an amazing organization. It's still growing, but I made that jump, you know. And
I think that's our shirt, by the way, Matt. What he got to be willing to give up. What is it, Haas?
You got to be willing to lose it all to gain everything.
Boom. That's the quote right there. Well, listen, we got a
Hey,
rule.
hey, yeah,
Go ahead, Pat. Go ahead.
yeah. Real quick, I'll say, I do a mastermind every single Friday. For really anybody can join. Any agent, any EXP agent can join every Friday at 9 o'clock Central Time, and I interview a successful EXP agent. Are you free this Friday to be my special guest? Can I interview you this Friday at 9 a.m. Central Time?
Haas
For
is-
an hour?
Yeah, Pat,
Boss is born free.
If I can, I'm happy to do it.
That's he's all about Freedom Friday, by the way. That's I think Haas.
baby.
I think Haas and I might have hatched that Freedom Friday concept that now we all run with. But that's it. I mean, that is really the goal, right? It's freedom. But we have a rule on Closers Club. If someone mentions someone else's name, I want to call on them. So you just mentioned Sharon Lecter. Sharon, do you want to maybe jump in and say hi to Haas? And you got any words of wisdom for us?
Well, good morning. Hello, Haas, Brian. Wonderful to
Hi,
hear
Sharon.
all of you guys. I'm in the middle of a walk, so I'm out of breath. But
That's
happy
good.
to tune in and listen to you always, Haas, and support. And I love the concept. The thing that I want to point out is a lot of people are ready to burn their boats, but they don't know what to do. And EXP provides the system and the support from a mentoring perspective, and the systems to help people go from good to great. And I think that is the reason Mike and I are involved in EXP, because the formula, the system is there with the agent in mind. And I think it's a great system, and happy to be part of it, part of your organization, Haas, as well as yours, Brian, and excited to see what the future holds.
I think that's a real important comment, Sharon, because, we call it EXP, but we're all really joined at the hip through a system. That's what this really is that we're talking about. We've all sort of joined in and committed to running a certain type of business system for ourselves personally, our families, our in our careers. We just call it EXP. That just happens to be the brand that's kind of painted on top of this machine. But make no mistake, I mean, we've created a money-making machine. It's a perpetual money-making machine. I mean, if you were to sit down in a lab and try and create the ultimate business model, and I mean, believe me, Sharon Lecter has done this for decades. She's literally looked at every type of business model. She's created business models. She's dissected business models. She's said yes and no, probably more no's than yeses to millions of business models out there. And she threw all in with this business model. Here's you got Haas Pratt, who's like been an entrepreneur since he could blow his nose, and now he threw all in with this system. You got Michael Banovic, super successful home builder, luxury agent. He throws all in with this system. Pat Hayes, top team builder, father of 3 amazing kids, running around a million miles an hour. He takes one look at this opportunity. He's all in, gives up everything. Suzanne Fuqua starts brokerages in multiple states, sold to brokerage to potential for millions of dollars. She's a real estate agent. She looks at this model and she goes all in. So you got to start asking yourself, why are all these people going all in? And then if you're in this model, if you're part of this system with us and you're doing something else, right, on the side, or you got another business that you're trying to launch, or you're working some other job, or you're doing some other thing, ask yourself, why aren't anybody who's really successful, why aren't they doing other jobs? Why aren't they doing other things? Why aren't they trying to start a crystals business or be a warehouse manager on the weekends? Or, and by the way, if you're trying to sell this system to people or trying to attract people to come join us and they see you working 3 or 4 other businesses, what kind of signal are you sending to them? Like I actually said this to somebody the other day, Haas. He was like, yeah, I'm going to really get after it. I was so inspired by Clubhouse, but I'm still going to be working this full-time job, and I'm traveling he's an Arizona guy that goes to San Diego five days a week, comes home for the weekends. He's got a kid on the way, and he's like, I got to put food on the table. I got a kid on the way. And I'm like, yeah, but you got 7 months to make this thing work. And the stress and the time and the energy that he spends traveling, commuting, and leaving his wife behind, his pregnant wife, and all this stuff. And he's so motivated, he's so inspired, but yet he can't burn the boats. He can't let go of this sort of comfort blanket that society is basically brainwashed us all to think that you got to go to college. You got to get that steady job. You got to work for the weekends. You got to save up for retirement. This whole, Dave Ramsey bullshit. Why do people think like that, Haas? Who's behind all that, Haas? What would you say? I know, I don't want to get too conspiratorial here, but like, why do most people sleepwalk through life working for retirement?
Man, because that's what they have been told, and and it's the same thing. I mean, I'm with you. Why, man? And that's for me. I don't know all the whys. I just know that I'm not going to be that one, and I'm going to be a source of inspiration to those that can prove that they can. It's people, and it's fear is the answer of why they don't. It's fear. People are scared of what's going to happen if they do make that move. They're going to be scared what people are going to think of them. They're scared of proving that what people think of them to be right. They build a wall, a bubble, and they just operate in it. And that's why it's important to make moves. It's important to change. It's important to do those things, because otherwise you get complacent. And you're right. To the agent, to anybody that has multiple things, you can't do that, right? Even that's fear. You go all in on one thing, and then you have favor, and you're able to put that focus. But it's fear. And Sharon wrote about it, and and Outwitting the Devil, the book with Napoleon Hill. And it's that book, by the way. Sharon knows this. It's one of my favorite books. It's phenomenal, and that book changed the way I looked at fear. It changed the relationship. It put a lot of things in perspective. So what you're describing is what Sharon describes in the book, and it's oh, that's the devil himself working, doing his work. The last thing he wants is people free and confident, right? And he wants them in a system. He wants to keep them under fear. He wants to keep them
Subjugated.
from becoming the best versions of themselves. He wants them to stay there. He doesn't want them to grow. So everything is operating against them. In fact, y'all, everything is operating against us. It's everything from the education to the healthcare to all the things that we are told or believe. I just learned that I don't believe everything I'm told, because I've done the opposite, and it's worked out, in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Now, but I'm not saying like I'll give you an example and health, right? So like my wife just had breast cancer. We went through a whole through that whole journey, and I learned so much in that, from the cancer.
She just beat breast cancer, by the way.
Yeah, she beat breast cancer, and we beat it, and we didn't listen to what everybody told us to do, and what we did, everybody thought we were nuts. It's the same thing, and and it made me mad, Culhane. It made me mad to see the system again, and it's the system, right? And it's in everything that we do, and just buck the system. You know what I'm saying? Like the answer is always usually in what people tell you not to do. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I find, and that's and
Well,
that
no
was a
question.
little
Listen,
scary.
you are no question a example of someone who has gone against the grain, not done what others have told you to do, or, found that one kernel of advice or truth that resonated amongst a sea of, naysayers. And I love you for that. And I love you like a brother. And, but I've been pulling some people up, just kind of randomly selecting some people that I know you have some interaction with. A few people raised their hand. Bobby Jones raised his hand. I pulled up Ricky Tucker. We got Katie Spaniak, who I know you guys, I don't know if you're ready to talk about anything, but I know you guys have been working on some stuff behind the scenes. And so I pulled up some people. Does anybody want to ask a question or make a comment to Haas? Go ahead.
I'd love to.
Go ahead, Katie.
Hey, Haas is one of my very favorite people. Honestly, like so excited that I've had the opportunity to work with you and work with Haas. And one thing that I just love about Haas is his, and you did touch on his attitude. His energy and excitement. But one thing is that Haas comes from a real authentic place, and there are not many people who really come from that authenticity, just really always trying to do what is the right thing and what is the best for others, not necessarily for himself. And I would just ask you, I mean, Haas, as somebody who knows you, like, can you explain how you really got there? How did you really become that authentic person?
That's a great question, Katie. Jeez. How do you think I did? I mean, what do you think? How does somebody become authentic?
You know, I think it's honestly failing. I really think being authentic is about failing and being humiliated to a point of recognizing that, just recognizing that we're all human and being okay with that failure and not. I think being okay with the failure, I think is how you get that humility. That, at least that's what I would say.
Can
For
I
me.
touch on this real quick?
Million percent.
Yeah, I know
Go
you
ahead.
have something to say, Ben.
Well, what I was going to say, Haas, I was thinking about this morning. When you're grateful of our many blessings, which we're all very blessed, there's an absence of anger and fear. And when there's an absence of anger and fear, there's abundance.
Yeah, I love that.
You know,
You know,
Haas,
the
and
other
Haas,
thing
you don't
too
give
is,
a
is choosing authenticity. Katie, I think for me, I want to be able to just not only do the best I can, but also help other people and operate in a place of integrity, and of doing the right thing, and of of caring enough to to express that. But that's a great question. I think for me, I have to be authentic. That's the reason I'm not big on social media. I don't have a lot of millions of followers because I'm not. It's not something I love to do. I don't.
Well, you're
right
grounded.
wrong,
Listen,
it's
you're
just-
grounded in your faith. You're grounded in your family. You're grounded in your mission. You understand what your purpose is. You know who you are. You're comfortable in your own skin. And I think it's the other pieces that you aren't satisfied yet. You're not one of these guys that's, I'll share this is a great story. It's a great segue. It's not something Haas talks about very often, but I want to share this with everybody because it's really powerful. So Haas actually had a conference many, many years ago. What year was this, Haas, when you had that conference?
It was 2014.
Yeah.
Or 15.
So 2014. All right. We're still at EXP. We're still 500 people, right? Total, right? And probably 20 states or something like that. 500 people. So there's a conference that goes down. Who were some of the people at that conference? Just throw the names out real quick.
Hal Elrod was who wrote Miracle Morning was there. Some other Brent Gove was there. I had one of my
Who did he meet
clients,
when he was
Sheila,
there? Yeah. Go ahead.
Sheila Fejeron was there. She's sitting front row. It was her birthday, and we brought a cake out, sang happy birthday to her. There's probably 300 people at the conference from all over the country. I called Brent Gove, who was a friend of mine, to come in and speak and be one of the speakers at it.
So Sheila actually met Brent, and by the way, for those that don't understand, Sheila brought in Brent Gove, right? So talk about bringing in, the ultimate life-changing person into your organization, right? This guy's now got 14,000 people in his downline. Sheila brought him in. Sheila met Brent at Haas Pratt's conference. Haas doesn't have Brent in his downline. Haas doesn't have Sheila in his downline, right? And so I asked Haas the other day, I go, man, does that ever just bother you? Like, does that ever just burn you? Or maybe someone else asked you. I don't know. I just remember kind of us getting into this, right? And I was just like, man, does that ever bother you? And what did you say back to me, Haas? I mean, I thought this was one of the most incredible, like, just next level thought processes I've ever witnessed in real time. I mean, he didn't miss a beat. He looks right at me and he said, well, Brian, and what'd you say, Haas? About if I had gotten that, I wouldn't have gotten blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So yeah, if I would have joined, if I would have gotten that, then I wouldn't have what I have. I wouldn't have gotten Tarek. I wouldn't have Lisa Copeland, Sharon Lecter, the Cardones. It wouldn't have happened.
Right.
Because I wouldn't have hired. How I met, by the way, how I met Tarek was I hired a media company, and it was one of the biggest, best media companies, and so all the experts were working with them, and to do my podcast and to do some other things, a book, and so I hired him. It cost me $100,000. Okay, is what I paid this company. But in that network, I met Tarek Al Musa, I met Lisa Copeland, and I ended up recruiting them to EXP, and that's what we're building now. And so there is a different plan for me. And it's,
but hold on, think about this for a second, everybody. Like there's so many people, and there's a couple on stage. I don't want to name names, but there's people who lost a whale, or they got out recruited by somebody else, and they like can't get over it. Like they're so stuck. It literally is ruining them. right? They're so hung up
that's
on the fish that got away that they've stopped fishing. And like, here's Haas, like fully aware that the biggest whale in the history of, you know, real estate attraction didn't join under him. And instead of letting him cripple him, instead of letting him, you know, he never mentions it. He never brings it up. He never talks about, oh man, I wish I would have gotten that. Man, if I didn't just get screwed over, if I would have just gotten that big recruit, my life would be so much better now. Like never, those words have never come out of Haas's mouth. As a matter of fact, when I even teed him up to just have a little bit of moment of regret, the guy immediately came over the top with some of the wisest words I've ever heard a human being say, which was, hey man, you realize if I would have gotten that, I wouldn't have gotten all these other amazing people. My life would be totally different. And it wouldn't be where he's at today, which is, you know, on top of the world. So just such a heads up comment that you made. And I can go through this room and I can literally name names of people who are still so hung up on, you know, a buddy that didn't join, or maybe some local agent that picked somebody else in their market. Like let's unpack that for these people. Like what do they need to do to get over that, Haas?
Talk to more people, you know, I mean, it's, you know, the thing is it's the mindset I talked about. It's like the money mindset. It's the attraction mindset. You know, you don't, I mean, I don't think about Brent Gove going under Sheila getting Brent with anything other than just love and excitement, you know, because here's what I think of. I'm like, it's amazing how God used my event Recharge to make a connection that has changed
all of our lives,
thousands of lives,
yeah,
and impacted an industry. And because I remember being at a place with this event, I was speaking a lot. I was going around the country, and I was doing speaking, and I was like, and every time I would go to a seminar, I would look around, and I knew I needed to do my own conference. That was the next level. I needed my own conference. And so when I remember I went to Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny, and this was like in 2012, and it was a 7-day conference. And I came back. I said, I'm doing Recharge, and I did my first event. Then, and it's the hardest thing ever, by the way, getting butts in seats to events. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. And then the next year was Ebola, and I had this event. Remember Ebola? And this event that this happened with Brent and meeting Sheila almost didn't happen because of Ebola. And I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars on that conference, on that event. But it did its purpose to change thousands of lives and change countless fortunes. So
mine included.
You can't have it both ways, right? Yeah. You can't have it in that, like, that's part of the game.
So the fact, I think there's something in to expound on your answer a little bit on why, you know, what people need to do is you also got to trust that you're part of something bigger. You know, maybe there is a plan, or there is sort of some cosmic divine intervention that's maybe guiding you. And, you know, it reminds me a lot of whatever faith people in the audience ascribe to or whatever. You know, there's a Buddhist koan that talks about the horse farmer, and he loses a horse, and the whole town comes together and goes, oh, what a tragedy. And he said, well, whatever happens, happens. And then that horse brings back 5 more horses, and everyone's like, oh, what a victory. And he's like, oh, whatever happens, happens. And then that one of those horses gets the rest. The horse is sick, and most of the horses pass away from disease, and everyone's like, oh, what a tragedy. But one of the babies of the offspring goes on to become a Hall of Fame horse, a winning thoroughbred champion horse. And everyone's like, oh, what an amazing. And he's like, the whole time, the farmer's like, yeah, whatever happens, happens. Like, it's out of my hands, right? Like, I'm not in charge of this. Like, it's just like, it's good or bad. He's kind of like just that even keel. Phil Jackson talks about this in his book, the Zen of Hoops or whatever. And, he talks about how, his whole job with keeping that team together, that 90s Bulls team, that's probably one of the greatest teams ever in any sport. His whole job was just even out the roller coaster of emotions. Like he literally says that, like, his job as the coach wasn't to teach these guys how to play basketball. They already knew that. There's nothing he was going to do that was going to show Michael Jordan to work harder. Michael Jordan's already freaking working harder than everybody. So what his job was to sort of unpack their emotions and keep them on sort of an even keel. So I think, Haas, you do some of the best job at that of anybody I've ever seen. I mean, you're always the same dude, super steady Eddie. You know, you have your moments, we all do, right? I mean, Haas ain't perfect, and he understands that. But, you know, I just love you to pieces, man. Listen, we're at the top of the hour. We're going to do this for about another 90 minutes. If you guys like what you're hearing on Closers Clubhouse, we do this every Wednesday, 7 a.m. West Coast, 10 a.m. East Coast. Best 90 minutes of your week. We do a little bit of therapy, a little bit of motivational, a little bit of educational, a little bit of inspirational. We go deep, we go wide, and we try and get after what makes the mind of these successful people tick. And I want to open this up, see if I know we've got a few people that have raised their hands, might have some questions. Who has a question for or comment for Haas? Go ahead.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Christina.
Hey, Haas, it's Christina.
Hey,
Missouri.
Christina.
You're a Missouri girl. I'm so glad I got to meet you in Nashville, as well as Pat said. And I just enjoy yours and my Canna's energy so much. So I want to appreciate, just thank you for that.
Yeah, likewise.
So I want to ask you, as you grow and have built, a team per se of agents, and, EXP is, my vehicle to get there as well. And I have some pretty big goals for myself this year. I want to ask you, what is the number one piece of value that you need to bring to people to get them on the same train as you are, to see the vision, to help you grow and build? What is that?
That's a great question. It's first off is alignment, right? It's aligning with the right people, and it's attracting the type of people that we want to be in business with. Like all of us, like we're the same. You know what I'm saying? Like we all have the same energy, positive energy. We're all, fired up, and we're all working hard for it. And we start there, and in attracting the right people, and that's knowing who you want to be in business with. And then it's doing it yourself. It's leading by example. And I think that's a big part of EXP, the attraction side is just lead by example. Just keep, carrying water and chopping wood. Pat Hayes is a great example, man. Like he doesn't stop, he's just keeps doing his lunch and learns. It's just next. And that will create the energy that is contagious, that your organization is going to be able to feel and plug into. And then you have the successes. You have other people that come in. That's the thing about the EXP organization is it's a growing thing, right? Like your organization is going to grow. There's going to be, people come in that are not there today. Like that's exciting. Like we just brought in Ari Lyondike. I think I can say that now.
Yeah, we can. The Bachelor.
Like, man, we got another one. It's like, we got another celeb. We love it. Me and bculhane talk about that all the time. Like, we don't know who we're going to get. I mean, but it's really cool to experience that. And as an organization, when people see that, it gives them, the confidence, the pride to be able to go share it themselves. But just leading by example is what is to me is the most important. Just be the example. Be the one that does the work, because most people don't. Your organization's not calling 5 agents today. Let's get them there. Let's get them to a place where they're inspired enough to make 5 calls.
I was doing a qigong. I was doing it this morning. I try and do a little qigong every day. It's basically a more aggressive version of Tai Chi. And I know what I'm doing. I kind of get it. And I was doing it for some Wim Hof certified trainers at their gym the other day. This place called Optimize, and I was just doing a little demo. And the guy goes, "Man, you just moved a lot of energy." And I was like, "Wow, that's a cool way of saying it." But like what you just described with like what Pat does, or what you do, or what Alfonso's doing every day, we're literally moving energy. You're creating you're almost creating a little bit of an energy vortex that sucks people in. If you're moving, they say nothing's more attractive than personal momentum. And I know, Haas, you got a lot of personal momentum. Alfonso, brother, you've been mighty quiet over there. What do you got to say today?
Man, that just gave me chills right now, because that's exactly what I was experiencing right now when you talked about the energy. And this is just an off story, by doing the cold plunging. The other day, some lady DM'd me, and she's like, "Hey, how much would you charge me to plunge?" And I said, "Look, just come here. I'll walk you through it. Have you ever plunged? She says no. So I walked her through a plunge. Then later on, she's like, hey, let's go have some coffee. So we have coffee. Turns out she's in the process of getting a real estate license. So like literally the energy that we're putting out there is coming back. So it's pretty powerful. And thank you, Haas, for taking time and showing up and telling us your amazing story. Love it.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, the gift of reciprocity is alive and well. You know, one thing Christina touched on that I'll touch on too is you got to think of yourself like a water going into, a boulder going into a lake. It creates huge ripple effects that you don't necessarily see day one, but months, years, decades later, someone sees you or calls you that you made an impact years before that you didn't know. And you just keep making those deposits. They'll pay off 100-fold into the future.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, let's keep going around the room. I love these organic. I pulled up a few people that I know are, worked with you, Haas. I had Brennan up here. We've got some great people up here. Go ahead, Bobby. Were you gonna say something? Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, I was just gonna make a quick comment. I'm about to walk into a meeting, but Haas, man, enjoyed you on the sales call last night. And Brian's had a ton of great guests on here, but I'd have to say this is right up at the top of my favorite. I love everything that you're saying. You sound like you haven't said it, but you mentioned God, and you sound like a man of faith, and I can tell, with the integrity level and leading by example and everything you say. It's just you can hear it in your voice, and I really admire what you've said about it's kind of touched on me a lot. Who I realize, you got to burn the boats. You got to leave something good to go to something great. I've done it a few times in my life, but I've got some things even now that I need to leave. And man, just incredible energy behind your testimony. Incredible story. Big fan. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you. Appreciate you, Bobby.
Christina, please go ahead.
Hey, Brian, Haas, amazing sales call last night. Thank you so much for pouring into all of us.
What was your biggest takeaway from his sales call last night?
Oh my gosh. I took a screenshot of the touch points and I sent it to my sales team because, learning from Grant and how he teaches his sales team, like you cannot emphasize enough how many times you have to reach out to people, and the percentage of conversion rate goes up the more you reach out to people, right? So that was my biggest takeaway. And just to kind of touch upon what Michael was saying also, and Christina, you guys pouring into people and just being a new agent with EXP recently, you guys established such a strong foundation. And pouring into and inviting people, sometimes you don't understand why people aren't seeing it, but I've seen people turn around and see what we're doing and come back and join. So having that strong leadership and then burning the boats, I've experienced that several times in my life, and you guys just create such a beautiful synergy, and I love what you guys are doing and continuing to help people and pour people and making yourselves available.
I mean, he literally wrote the definitive blueprint for real estate success. Haas Pratt, Listing Boss. You can find it on Amazon. Go grab a copy, grab a book, a box of copies, and give them to your agents, right? I mean, that, buying a book's great. Go buy 100 books. Go buy 10 books and give them. I have boxes of Listing Boss. I can't keep Listing Boss in my office because we give it out to every agent that joins, or we give it out at all our events. And same thing I do with Sharon Lecter's Exit Rich. By the way, Bobby, thanks for waiting for Sharon to get off the stage when you said that Haas was the best guest. She was last week's guest, so I want to thank you for waiting. But this is awesome. I mean, by the way, Haas is the ultimate closer. Haas, do you want to talk about just real briefly why, when you first dove in and started hitting the FSBO list, how many listings did you get in your first? Talk about that real quick, because I'll bring this back to sales and bring this back to closing. Talk about that what really led to writing that book.
Yeah, here's the cool story. So I was when I got into real estate, I got my real estate license, got into real estate. I read a book. I'm not going to tell what it is, but let's just say it cost me a little time following the wrong model. So what I did for 6 months, I didn't list a single home. I was working 80 hours a week when I got into real estate, And remember, I came from door to door. Like I could sell, but the problem was I didn't have a database, and I was just going like door to door, meeting people, writing handwritten thank you notes, just waiting for them to refer me business. So 6 months in, 6 months in, I ran out of money, and I thought that I made a mistake. I convinced myself that I was going to move back to Missouri, and I remember just being there at this place, just not getting results, working my butt off alone, like just, it's in the jungle. I mean, it wasn't a very fun time. And so I called my dad and I said, Dad, I'm thinking about moving back home. This Texas thing, 9/11 happened too. I didn't know that was going to happen. The economy's bad. I think I'm going to come home and, come on home, Haas. We love you. It's okay. I'm like, but I'm worried about what people will think. Oh, nobody will say anything. Just come home. And that was like a warm blanket to me because he gave me permission to come home. And that's a lesson right there, because a lot of parents, as parents, we do that, and meaning we, out of love, almost sabotage our kids. Right. And I'm real cautious to not do that with my kids. I want them to just, nope. Hey, stay. I want to encourage them, not for my own need, but for themselves. And so I was going to come home, and I called Jimbo right after that. And I said, Jimbo, thinking about moving home, things aren't going good. And Jimbo says, and I was complaining about it. He goes, Haas, are you done? I was like, yes. He goes, listen, if you move back, you're going to be the laughing stock of this town. And if you move back, you're going to be the biggest effing loser that ever walked the planet. And it's going to be the single biggest mistake you've ever made in your life. And he hung up the phone. And I said, shit. Like, I was like, and I hung up and made the decision that I'm never moving back.
Yeah.
He was right. He was right. So that happens. That's called the choice phase. We all have an opportunity to choose who's in our world that can help us choose. So Jimbo, thank God he was in my world. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here on Closers Club today. God only knows where I would be, because I was convinced. So I didn't move back. And here's what I did. I called my first for sale by owner the next day, and I took my first listing. I called and the next day I took my second listing. 30 days later, after hanging up the phone, I had 3 listings. I ended up taking 30 listings again the next month, finished my first year, rookie of the year, did 8 million in sales, all of which was that second part of that first year. And it was all on the other side of when I fully committed.
That's got to resonate with some people.
Again,
Go ahead.
I am fully inspired right now.
Yeah.
Goosebumps.
Well, right. Because Haas had 30 listings in 1 month. That's, has anybody ever done that?
Against the wall. I just feel like his back was up against the wall.
Yeah. And Haas even has a really great
story, an EXP story. So there's a guy in that office, and I remember, I remember I pulled up to the office. It's a Keller Williams office in Frisco, Texas. And I see these wrapped Hummers, and these like big, back in the day, those big wrapped Hummers. It was like, what the hell is that thing? That's cool. And I never seen one before. And it had the picture of this young kid on the side of it. And so I go in and I asked my broker. I said, who is this guy? He looks like he's my age. She goes, oh, he is. He's a few years older than you, I think, but he's that's Michael Reese, and he's one of the top agents in the area. And I go, I never met him. And
by the way, wasn't your broker Gene Frederick?
Yes. Gene Frederick was my broker at Keller Williams, Dallas Preston Road. And not at this office. That was a different office. But that was Mike Reese. And Mike Reese, who you guys know at the EXP world, he's one of the, Jay and Mike are one of the top people at the company. And but Mike Reese was my number one competitor. And when I sold real estate here, he would do things like kidnap me and take me to Edmond, Oklahoma, Lawton, Oklahoma, to Jay Kinder's office. And we would, we would just hang out with them. And so early on, man, I was like, this was our world, in my world. And it's been, it's amazing to go back and look and see, where we all are today and how it all kind of,
You should go back and bottle some of that water that was in that little town and sell it to real estate agents, because some pretty big names coming out of there. But, that's what's so cool about, obviously,
Yes.
I don't want to toot our own horn here, and we've got about 15, 20 more minutes left, and I want to make sure everyone gets a chance to answer questions. And again, if you like what Haas is saying, follow him on Instagram, send him a back channel DM here on Clubhouse, Google him, buy his book. Obviously, same for all the hosts and all the great guests we always have on here. That's the best way you can show your support. The second best way you can show your support for this group is to, invite other people, put it on your calendar, make it a weekly thing. And what I really like out of this group is the historical stuff. I mean, today is literally, it's mind blowing, how much firsthand, witness level, literally, I think a lot about like World War II. I don't know if anybody thought I was going to go here, but you look back at World War II, and there's just so many of these amazing, freakish stories where literally the war, the tide of the war swung one way or another based on one person or one event or one battle or one moment in the one secret not being exposed or whatever it was. And there's like 10 of those minimum, like 10 major moments in World War II where it easily could have gone the other way. And had there not been some sort of divine, it was almost like divine intervention, right? And then you listen to Haas tell his story and sort of the history of all these amazing people that came into play with EXP. My story of all the twists and turns that Glenn and I took to get to where we're at today. It's just like, it's easy to look back and go, well, yeah, oh, that's amazing. Wow, that was cool. Wow, Haas introduced Sheila to Brent, and that's amazing. And he was running with Gene and, and those guys, and that but like, it's not easy when you're in the moment, right? In the moment, you just heard he was doubting himself. He wanted to move home. He was being told like, hey, you can't make it. Like, so it's funny if you think about, and Sharon writes the book 3 Feet from Gold, but this idea of like, usually in our darkest moments, we are closest to our biggest victories, right? And so here's Haas, unwittingly. And by the way, that like you also have another great story, Haas. I keep thinking all these great parables you've shared with me over the years, but I want to touch on that. So like Haas has a story, and I'm going to let you tell it, but it's basically about you had an event and only like 2 people showed up. You want to talk about that one? Or did we lose you, Haas?
Yes. Is that when my dad came? When my dad heard?
Yes. This is the best. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was traveling around doing seminars at the time, and I had one up in MP Dodge in Omaha, Nebraska. So and my folks still live in Missouri, so I call my dad. I said, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to be going to Omaha to speak. I'm going to drive up from Kansas City." The guy's like, he's never seen me speak, right? So I go, "You want to go up there and we'll ride up together?" Oh, okay, I guess. So I drive to Omaha with him. We get there to the seminar, and sitting around. The seminar starts at noon. 11:45 rolls around, just me and my dad. At 5 till, just me and my dad. 12 noon, seminar's supposed to start, just me and my dad. Nobody shows up, and this gal walks in. This one person. So my dad's like, "Where is there?" I'm like, "I don't know." Nobody showed up, and I was like, "Great, of course." My dad comes to see me speak, and nobody shows up. And this gal walks in, and she's like, "Is this where the seminar is?" I'm like, "Well, I thought it was." But she goes, apparently there's a miscommunication. So and she goes, "Oh, okay." I go, "But listen, I'm not gonna. The seminars. Obviously, you're the only one here. I'm just gonna give you the $1,000 course that I was gonna sell at the end of it. So I'm just gonna give it to you. And that's what I did. I gave her my system that I sell, and we leave. And then months later, years later, I get a phone call from her, and she goes, "You may not remember me, but I was at a seminar, the one with your dad, and nobody showed up." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember that one." And I was like, "Of course I remember you." And she goes, "I just want you to know that that day that I met you, you gave me your system, and I implemented it, and I am the #1 realtor in my office, and one of the top agents in the areas, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without you." And she told me that story, and that's the reason I went to Omaha for her.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know. And so there's so many of those times that are unexplained, and it's not our job to ask why. It's our job to be grateful and see the gift and blessings in those types of things, and how we're used. It's not to try to understand everything, try to figure it all out. The more I learn, what I don't know. The more I know, and the more I realize what I don't know. I'm completely open-minded. I completely surrender to the process, to the guidance, without trying to control it and inject my own ego. And I wrote the word ego down because the ego is what makes somebody mad when they lose Brent. The ego is what makes somebody, breaks their spirit when nobody shows up to the seminar. The ego is what gets upset when, somebody, they think they deserve a recruit. That's the ego. Like, who do we think we are? And who do you think you are to tell that person of who they should have gone as their sponsor? The question you should ask is, do you deserve it? Like, who do you think you are to think that you deserved, that person? And there's a lot of that. It's questioning our own drive, our own motives, and the ego is what gets people in trouble.
Yeah, it messes with you. It's also that princely mindset, that princess mindset that, oh, there wasn't 50 people there wasn't 200 people in my thing, so it was a loss. Haas, you have uncanny ability to find a W inside of the L, right? You have this ability to sort of snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, right? And Brian Hisse, are you on today? I like to I want to introduce you to Brian Hisse. It's a little bit of a selfish play, but you guys are both Texas guys. Brian's becoming one of my good buddies. We talk regularly. He's got some amazing stuff going on, but Brian always reports into me after Closers Club, and he usually says he shed a tear, or the hair on his arm stand up. Brian, are we doing okay today? Have you shed your tear yet, or do we need to keep going?
I'm resonating here.
All right, we'll keep going. But I got to get you two guys together, by the way, because I think that's just going to be, that's my secret power is figuring out alignment and connecting people. But we're going to get the three of us together at some point. But I just wanted to take a little selfish moment to introduce you guys together.
Good to meet you, Brian.
Nice to meet you as well.
Yeah,
Brian, can I chime in real quick?
Please go ahead, Trey.
Man, I love everything you're sharing today, Haas. Glad I got to meet you as well down in Miami earlier this year. Got to spend some time with you, brother. Just very inspirational. But I love everything you've been talking about, especially as far as the authenticity and burning the boats, making a decision and a choice. That's kind of what it all comes down to, right? Is you have to make a choice to be authentic. You have to make a choice to burn the boats and go all in on something. And especially with what the story you just shared, it's like, why are you making that choice? That's what I took out of it. What is, I think you used the word motive, but what is your intention? Because if you have the right intentions, even when shit goes wrong, you're going to find those wins. Those wins are going to be attracted to you because you got value to bring to the universe, man. So
he's the embodiment of, he serves, his faith, he serves his family, he serves his community, he serves his kingdom, and he keeps those four areas at the front and center of his mission. Who cares what happens, right? Like, he's so above the ebb and flow and the
servant mindset.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, go ahead.
The line I tell myself is I say this a lot to myself: let the chips fall where they may. So, let the chips fall where they may. I've already done my part. So, and that right there, man, is just, there's a lot of freedom in that. And if you, it's like what
well, that's very Marcus Aurelius, right? Marcus Aurelius would say, if the fates will it, right? If it's meant to be, right? It's sort of that. It's weaved in and out of a lot of classic and traditional, philosophy and theology. But go ahead. Well, yeah, no, Haas, you cut out. Your mic went off, but go ahead. You were going to take us. We got about 5 more minutes. I want to make sure we get enough questions. I know, Lisa, you had your hand up. Lisa Reyes, I don't know if you want to pop your mic on and ask a question for us. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much.
What's your question?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I just want to say this is very humbling to be a part of this. So sorry for the tears, but I started your book, Haas. I'm new with EXP. I've been in real estate for a little bit over 20 years in different capacities, but um, it's so funny. My question, firstly, is on putting together my goals and everything. Sometimes that's a real hard one for me because I think I just haven't taken the time to sit down and think about it. So my question is, I'm going to put that off for a little bit. Is there a specific timeline to follow in Listing Boss? And the other thing is this. I hope that every time you have a chance to speak to people in any of these venues that you mention, it's so important to lose ego, number one, and number two, sometimes you're absolutely right. It's just not, if you get rejected by a person that you'd like to, bring on to the business and to this EXP, it's okay. It's so okay. And I just, those are the two things that I've really just wanted to address and ask for your idea on as far as the goal setting, please. And thank you
Awesome,
so much.
Lisa. Thank you. And what's your question on the goal setting?
Fill in all, like on the one chart that you have. It's okay to go back to. I kind of wasn't clear on that when I was reading. I kind of read through it a couple times, but so as far as not setting up all the goals immediately, is that okay?
Yeah, here's what you want. Yeah, it's fine. Give yourself grace. Don't beat yourself up. But there's goals in each of these areas of your life, from your physical health, your spiritual, to your business, educational, your family, right? Your lifestyle, financial goals. Big and easy is what I would encourage you to go after. What are the big and easy, high leverage goals that will drive um, the main results and solve a lot of problems? So, if in physical health, what's the goal? You know, I have a goal: walk 10,000 steps a day. Why do I do that every day? It's just big and easy. If I move my butt 10,000 steps a day, it solves a lot of problems. You know, there's those things. So like, you don't overwhelm yourself with all these to dos. Like, find one goal that you can control, that you can invest in, and that's big and easy. It would be the advice in everything you do, because there's one decision that will cover a lot of other things. There's one action that will solve those problems in every area. Like prospecting in real estate would be one goal. Like, for example, if you prospect for new business, you're going to have business. And that one high leverage activity is what leads you to the result you want. But keep reading the book here, Lisa, and I'm happy to help you in this area. Like, Listing Boss Academy is something that's like my work. It's my life work. I think every real estate agent needs Listing Boss Academy. I don't know, I want everybody to have it, and because it's the system, it's the model that you can apply massive action to. And thank you. I'm glad Brian didn't cry, but you did, Lisa. So thank you. We love you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. And yep, I'm going to keep on with the book, and thank you again.
You're welcome.
Great share, Lisa. Great question. Appreciate that. And thanks for showing vulnerability. It's not a show until someone's brought to tears. Okay. So that's, I think we can successfully close the Closers Club chapter today. But after that question, I don't know. Trenton, I pulled you up. I pulled up Brennan. I know you guys have worked with Haas. Do you guys, you want to chime in real quick before we wrap, or does anybody else have
I'll just chime in real.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Bree.
I'll chime in real quick, Brian, so you guys can hear me okay. Yeah, I came out to, what was it, the Scottsdale Mastermind? Freedom Summit. Met Haas. He was one of the best speakers I've ever seen. I was like in between commissions at the time, so really didn't have money to be spending on any sort of programs, training. Saw Haas speak, and just everything he was talking about and offering was just so valuable. One thing I would love to have you touch on too is your your life timeline that you have of everybody that's in your life. I thought that was amazing. I've been telling people about that ever since that seminar. Can you share?
Before he does that, though, I just want to add a little piece to that story. Brennan handed Haas a check, and he goes, "This is my rent money." And he goes, I'm giving this to Haas because I got to know what this guy knows. I need help. And he's a young guy, and I got to give Brennan so much credit and respect for making that decision. It was such a burn the boats, you know, it was literally burn the boats incarnated. I mean, that was the ultimate, just coolest moment. One of the coolest moments I've ever witnessed is him. And I took a picture of it. I've got the picture somewhere, but
so both you guys sent me out of that seminar sweating, shaking in my boots, thinking I'm spent too much money or whatever. But it was by far the best money I've spent on coaching. Just some of Haas's performance guarantees, his menu of commission rates that he offers in his programs, totally worth it checking out. Going into listing presentations with performance guarantees, with promises, with menu of commission rates has just made my negotiations during listing presentations so much easier. So if anybody, can spend a couple bucks on his book or
Haas, what's the best way to, no, Brent, thanks for sharing that. What's the best way someone can get access to your, Listing Boss Academy, get in touch with you? What are some ways they can get this stuff?
Yeah, man. Here's the deal for you guys on the closers group. I got something I'll share with everybody, but it's not out there on Front Street, but I will make an invitation for everybody here to give you a solution, opportunity to get an incredible tool. So here's what I'll do: just email me your contact info, and I'm going to reach out to you, and we'll have a conversation about it. And it's Haas@HaasPratt.com. I'll just keep it big and easy. Just
Haas@HaasPratt.com. That's as easy as it gets.
Email me your contact info, and I will give you the next steps of what we can do. But you're gonna like it. For anybody that wants, better results, you want a model, then shoot me an email, and we'll get you taken care of.
Someone asked me, Haas, on the down low, is Haas is the name he was born with? Do you want to divulge, or do we just want to?
Yes, the day that I was born. Yeah. I was a big kid, and my grandpa came in and said, "That kid's a Haas." So that's been my name. It's Haas. And there's two of them: Haas Cartwright from Bonanza, and
kid's a Haas. Hey, you look like you lost a little weight though, man. So keep doing that 10,000 steps.
Tarek told me about not eating gluten, man. I stopped gluten. About 5 months ago. I haven't had any gluten, and it changed my life. So if you're eating gluten out there, stop eating it, man. It'll change your life too.
Well, let's end on that note, right? He gets a tip from Tarek El Moussa. Well, no, that's it. Listen, guys, we'll have and Haas is, occasionally pops in and out. He also is a regular on Real Talk Real Estate on Tuesdays with Elena Cardone. Haas is one of the most unassuming, humble guys you'll ever meet, but not really. he's also a fearless competitor. He wants to kick butt and take names, and I see that in a lot of people. Glenn's like that. Very unassuming, comes off very kind of, not easily flappable, or unflappable, if you will. But behind the scenes, these people want to just dominate. And Haas is very much cut from a similar cloth. And it's not like dominate over others. It's just sort of like be the best. And he just wants to be the best at whatever he's doing, right? He wants to drop some pearl of wisdom that you've never heard before, or share some story that's going to change your life. And that's what that if you see a common theme with all the guests we have on the show, it's that, it's this, like from Gary Brecka to Sharon Lechter to Ryan Seiko. It's sort of this relentless pursuit of excellence. And so let's leave it on that. Haas, you want to just bring us home, leave us with a parting thought before we wrap for today?
Yeah, folks, here's the deal. Just know this, big and easy. You can do anything in life and business, anything. Like, there's nothing that you can't do. The only limitations are the ones you put on yourself. So understand, if you can become anything, if you have the right mindset, you got to know it. So mindset's everything. 2 is models. You want to have a model to follow. I provide those models. That's what I do. Like Brennan I gave him a model. The model is important because number 3 is you apply massive action, and that's where you do your part. So if you have the right mindset, you have a model like Listing Boss or EXP. Those are great models for you to go apply massive action, and with the goal to build skills. The key is skills, because you got to become a skillionaire before you can become a millionaire. And that's what I'm going to leave on. Skillionaire, folks.
Mic drop. Thank you, Haas. Love you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Love you guys. Appreciate y'all. Go make it happen.
That's
Thank you,
it.
Haas.
Next week,
Thanks,
closers.
Haas.
Closers Clubhouse signing off. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Haas. Guys, get after it. Let's go. Time to make the donuts. Bye.